Today is Saturday, January 23rd. Has your relationship with technology changed during this pandemic? And if you're a parent, are your kids spending more time in front of screens? Today, we're talking about the potential effects of living in a much more digital world, the good and bad we might experience now, and the withdrawal we might feel later. You'll learn how it might influence children in a bit. But first, we talk about the impact on us, adults, with Dr. Keith Humphreys. He's a professor of psychiatry at Stanford University and an addiction expert. Here's our conversation. Welcome to the Newsworthy Special Edition Saturday, when we sit down with a different expert or celebrity every Saturday to talk about something in the news. Don't forget to tune in every Monday through Friday for our regular episodes, when we provide all the day's news in just 10 minutes. It's fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. It's time for today's Special Edition Saturday. You ready? Let's do this. Dr. Keith Humphreys, thank you so much for coming on the Newsworthy.
Very happy to be here.
So what's your take on the impact of more screen time, more virtual interaction because of the pandemic that we've dealt with for almost a year now?
It's something we've had to do really by necessity, and sometimes for our work and sometimes for our kids' schooling. What I'm most concerned about is that whether we adopt these necessities as our permanent way of life, which I think would be unfortunate once the COVID epidemic retreats, because we're getting less physical exercise, less sunshine, and less in-person social interaction. And those things are all very important for our happiness and well-being in the long term.
Yeah, explain that a little bit more. I mean, you've been quoted as saying that kids and maybe even adults could feel epic withdrawal from the technology that we've been using for the past year.
Yeah. So, I mean, first I'd say there's nothing evil about this technology. You and I are using some of it right now, and it brings lots of good things to our lives. But it can also be something that we overdo and we sort of zone out and are doing it even when we're not thinking about it. And that's because we're getting reward. I mean, you get very rapid feedback, you get visually appealing things and so on. And when that is gone, there's going to be, I think, a sense of withdrawal for lots of people of, I haven't checked my phone. I need to be on Twitter. I need to be getting texts from my friends as I play this video game and so on. And we're all going to have to work our way through that.
Yeah, you've described it as the concept of bundling. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So, as a species, we are wired to like social interaction. We also like learning, and those things are now entirely bundled through tech, and our brain draws associations of things that are bundled together because that reward from social interaction is being tied to the computer. That's going to make us want to stick around the computer as if that were the only way to get that social interaction. Right now it is, but it's not going to be pretty soon. And then we're going to have to retrain our brains and do some unbundling.
The evidence linking screens and social media with, say, anxiety or depression is not completely clear yet, is it? And what do we know and not know so far?
Right. So, I mean, we know that there's a correlation between lots and lots of screen time and depression and anxiety. But, that could also be depressed and anxious people spend more time online in the first place. There is the strongest evidence of a causal study is something Facebook did. They asked people if they were willing to give up Facebook for a month. And in that pool of people, they randomly assigned half of them to not have any access to their Facebook account. And those people who had Facebook taken away at the end of the month had less depression and less anxiety and a greater sense of worth, about equal to what they would have gotten, about the third of the effect that we associate with going to psychotherapy.
Are they designed to keep us on longer? And do you think social media companies should be doing more to tackle this?
They absolutely, positively are designed to be as addictive as possible. And my friends in the Valley who do this even use that term. They'll say proudly, this is a super addictive app. And they've studied very well how human attention works and how rapid reinforcement works. And they're going to do that. That's how they make their money. Two alternate routes. Some of it may be regulatory. Maybe someday how we regulate these things will constrain the extent to which they're allowed to beep us and notify us and make us think that we always need to be checking. But I think the more likely thing is that we'll start to do it culturally like we do with television.
So what's your advice to deal with this while we are still relying on technology?
We should make a big distinction between what can we do right now And what can we do, let's hope, say this summer when this pandemic has retreated a bit. So right now we should not beat ourselves up for using tech. We kind of have to for lots of things, but we can still build in timeouts around it. So, I mean, a really good place to potentially do that is mealtime. Many people are home, often with their kids. Families can commit to saying, we're going to sit down, we're going to eat together, we're going to talk to each other. There's no tech allowed at our table. Could also have some routines like going for a drive or going for a swim or going for a hike, that kind of thing. In the longer term, the trick will be to not let these habits we've adopted by necessity just sort of slide into being how we live.
Any specific advice for really changing those habits that we've probably developed in the last year?
Yeah, it's good in all behavior change to set goals for yourself and to not try to solve everything in a day, because what usually happens is you fail and you get completely demoralized. So, start with times out and then keep track of your progress, how you're doing. And as you start to get your life back in balance, where you're using tech enough that it makes life better and not so it makes life worse, the easiest way to stop doing something that has some reward in it is to find other things that are rewarding to replace it, rather than just trying to cold turkey and deny yourself to sit there with gritted teeth and say, I will not look at my phone, I will not look at my phone. That's not going to work.
And I like your acknowledgement that it can make our lives better until you cross that line.
Yeah, absolutely. I find many useful things about tech as other people do. It's how I get news about things that are important. It's how I keep in touch with people. It's all those things. But when it gets to the point that we are not doing things that are important in life, like, paying attention to people that we care about, getting at least some exercise, learning the skills of just talking and listening. And when tech gets in the way of that, then it goes from being an asset to being a liability. And that's when you got to say, hey, wait a minute, I need to reevaluate my relationship with this.
Still ahead, we're talking more about kids and technology. The New York Times cited a worldwide device usage tracker that found screen time among children ages 4 to 15 doubled by May 2020 compared to the year prior and kept going up as time passed. So you'll hear expert insights and advice from Dr. Jenny Radesky. She's a pediatrician who studies the use of mobile and interactive tech by parents and young children at the University of Michigan Medical School. But first, let's take a quick break to thank our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by 1010. You may have heard us talk about it or read about it in the New York Times, InStyle magazine, or Forbes, but we're excited to partner with them because 1010 is an exclusive collection of 10 one-of-a-kind engagement rings designed by 10 of the most distinctive designers working today. Using only diamonds responsibly sourced from Botswana, 10 design masters have each produced a uniquely beautiful commitment ring. They're available right now exclusively on BlueNile.com, and when they're gone, they're gone. We all know that the diamond engagement ring is iconic. It's a timeless expression of the deepest commitment between two people, and with 1010, it's been beautifully re-envisioned in the hands of 10 modern designers working exclusively with sustainably sourced diamonds. So if you're on the hunt for the perfect, unique ring to wear forever, you're definitely going to want to check this out. Again, this exciting limited edition collection of diamond engagement rings just launched, and you can find it exclusively at BlueNile.com. Also, thanks to our sponsor, MonkPack. If you think healthy cannot also mean tasty, think again. MonkPack makes truly delicious low-carb, low-sugar snacks. MonkPack Keto Granola Bars have just 1 gram of sugar, 2 grams of net carbs, and only 140 calories. They're great for anyone wanting to cut back a little bit on sugar and carbs and still satisfy cravings. And I know, with so much news happening, we have stayed busy here at the Newsworthy, so I love having MonkPack Keto Granola Bars on hand for a quick, easy, healthy snack. They taste great and have this perfect soft and chewy texture. So try it for yourself and you'll see. And we have a special deal for our listeners. Get 20% off your first purchase of any MonkPack product by visiting monkpack.com and entering our code Newsworthy at checkout. And MonkPack is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll exchange the product or refund your money, whichever you prefer. To get started, just go to monkpack.com. That's MUNKPACK, monkpack.com, and select any product, enter the code Newsworthy at checkout, and save 20% off your purchase. Okay, now here's my conversation with pediatrician Dr. Jenny Radesky. Thank you so much for coming on the Newsworthy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So first, let's just establish kids are using screens and virtual interaction more than ever because of the pandemic, right?
Definitely there's been this introduction of more technology than families were expecting to do at this age.
Do you have any insights into how many more hours, let's say, that kids are spending with tech?
It's funny. I don't tend to think of it in terms of hours because the time that they're on screens to be in school, I consider school time. And when I want parents to think about their kids' like screen time, more in terms of filling in other parts of the day. So after school is done, are they, just picking up the video game console and playing for the rest of the afternoon, or are they bringing their phone to bed? And is it displacing some of the really important processes that we as families need to stay emotionally healthy during such a stressful and traumatic time? So what I mean by processes is like getting a good night's sleep, having some time to sit down, distraction-free, and talk with your parent about the emotions you've been feeling, getting outside to just let your brain wander or be with nature. Those experiences, psychologists and pediatricians know are really important for family resilience and coping. And that's what I mostly care about.
And I know you've said before that maybe you're changing your mind a little bit about what to tell parents from the start of the pandemic and now.
I'd say it's evolving. It's not, they said screens were fine, last spring, and now everyone's changing their minds. That's not the case. The way it's evolved in terms of advice is just more specifics to help families not let media use go off the rails or become problematic. Set some Wi-Fi settings so that kids aren't bringing phones to bed at night and staying up, checking social media. Have a family meeting every month or so just to check in with your kids. And, keeping the lines of communication open is the crucial thing so that kids can process what they're experiencing online. And the last thing that I've definitely added more advice about is helping kids not multitask as much when they're in their virtual classrooms, because I'm hearing that from parent after parent. And I didn't expect last spring that it would be as much of a problem as we're seeing.
And give us an example of what you mean by multitask.
A child enters their morning meeting, on Zoom or something or Google Classroom, and then opens up, 2 other tabs or opens up their favorite video game, opens up a YouTube channel. Just as an anecdote, like my 11-year-old was taking his online standardized test. And at the same time, he was watching and streaming YouTube videos about Pokemon unboxing. And I found this out by looking at the Securely, which is this monitoring program that our school district has installed. And I was like, buddy, why did you think this was okay? And his response was, well, the test was stressful. I wanted a few ways to, unwind. And so we've got to teach kids the mental habits of persisting through a mentally challenging task. And then when you're done with that, go and, tinker around or have your fun tech time.
And that seems to go back to what you were talking about earlier with the emotions, because technology can be a way for us to try to avoid our emotions.
Yes, absolutely. And I think everyone deserves some escape and some time to just try to not think so much. This has been a really stressful year. So we all should be able to stream our favorite videos and, go on social media to connect with friends, but to also be aware of when we're doing that without really intentionally being conscious of it, when it's becoming an automatic habit, that when you feel a little bit of internal boredom or distress, that you just reach for your phone or you hand your child the tablet. So that's why I'm telling parents to try to create some online filters to block the sites on your kids' devices that they're most tempted by. But also have a behavioral plan with your kids. So you say, okay, if I hear from your teacher that you were really engaged, that you clearly were not looking at another screen, then there'll be some sort of privilege that you can earn, say, by the end of the week. Unfortunately, the digital world right now is really still kind of a wild west for kids. And so there are not enough guardrails built into the design of the tech products that kids are being handed. And we still have to do a lot of the work monitoring and communicating with kids to make it a healthy experience for them.
And that reminds me that one of your studies has shown that kids were accessing apps made for adults that maybe the parents didn't even realize they were accessing, right?
What we found in that study when we were tracking the tablets and smartphones of preschool-aged kids is that many were playing like really scary games like Granny and Hello Neighbor, these kind of jump scare apps. One was called like Terrorist Shooter. We realized that without parent controls built into a child's tablet or the app store, kids can easily download these free apps that then collect a lot of data and also serve a lot of ads. So it's really this junky digital playground that kids now have such easy access to. So my argument is tablets and the App Store and YouTube and other digital spaces that kids are going into need to have more default protections and default settings that really help it be a healthier experience.
Anything else you want to add or just a final takeaway?
I want parents not to feel guilty about the difficult conundrum we're in right now with kids using screens more. I want them to feel activated to do a couple things. One, make that time that the kids are spending on screens smarter, more creative, more social, meaning that you're connecting with people that you miss, that you're playing together and entering their digital world a little bit to understand what they love and what they see. And then finally, the responsibility for this is not all on parents' shoulders. It's really, I think, on industry's shoulders. So parents, find out what is being proposed in terms of what types of legislation might protect kids in terms of the ads they see, the pressure for in-app purchases, the other sort of design tricks that keep kids really stuck on their devices, and advocate for some of that tech regulation. Let your legislator know, because I want it to turn the conversation a little bit away from what parents all need to do to what industry needs to do.
A big thanks to both of our guests today, and thank you to you for tuning in and listening. And a quick reminder, if you want to become one of our ambassadors and get paid to share the Newsworthy with your friends and family, simply go to refer.fm/newsworthy to learn how. You can earn $1 for every friend who checks out our show before the end of the month, up to $100. Again, just sign up at refer, R-E-F-E-R, refer.fm/newsworthy. As always, we provide the day's news in just 10 minutes with our regular episodes every Monday through Friday. We'll be back on Monday with your next news roundup. Until then, have a great weekend.